Hey guys, I just finished rock climbing and I'm walking around Williamsburg, New York. This is what it looks like. Anyways, there's some rocks happening. I don't know if you can really see. Anyways, I'm going to talk today about like a bullet journaling practice I do for speaking with my parts, and it's very much like a IFS kind of method, or I don't know, it came organically for me, but it's really helpful for me with my like parts work and IFS practice. And basically I am on a Google Doc and I just so IFS is basically this, for context, IFS is this like psychotherapeutic framework that posits that the mind is multiple. So historically we think about our minds as this like monolithic entity. You have one personality. However, if you think about like cartoons from the old times, there's like a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, and you have like conflicting inner voices that ask you to do different things. And now imagine if you were to develop that in higher fidelity and sort of tune into different modes that you often show up as. So for me, like one mode is like this very like greedy, hungry caterpillar mode where I just want to consume. Another one might be like a really anxious bird-like old man. Like there's like a lot of ways you can go with it, and everyone has different ways that their parts show up. But anyways, it's like a really cool way to get higher fidelity and like a higher like map into your own personality and a better understanding of the different ways that you show up and the different like almost like motives or types of like conflicting messages that you have. So for me, it felt like I used to be this like big mysterious black box, and then and it was like this like jumbled up ball of yarn. And after I started doing parts work and mapping out my parts, I felt like I could distinguish like, oh, here's like a pink thread, and here's a green thread, and here's a purple thread, here's a yellow thread, and over here the pink and the purple are getting tangled up. And like, what are the layers that are happening here? So one way that I work with this, with my IFS practice, is when I journal, I do this like digitally on Google Docs, but I will just like bullet point out like a stream of consciousness, and I'll be like, I went to a cafe. I feel a little anxious about like, I don't know, my work situation. I'm also a little like frustrated with my roommate, or I'm also a little like nervous for a date or something like that. And I'll just start bulleting out all of these thoughts. And what happens, and it feels like pretty natural, just like bullet point whatever thoughts feel like they belong to a bullet point. But what happens very naturally and interestingly for me is there's very soon like these sub bullets. So I'll say something like, oh, I'm really annoyed at my sister for saying this thing, and then I'll get like a immediate response in my head of like, oh, but she only meant it this way. And so I'll sub bullet point that with that thought, and another thought will come up and be like, well, like she didn't have to do that. Like there's like almost like these like inner dialogue that's already happening inside of myself. And if I just basically write that all out, I can see very clearly, especially even like when I tweet, I can see very clearly that there are like multiple parts showing up around one cluster of like thoughts. And if I write it out, I can almost see like a, you know, thesis, antithesis, synthesis dynamic play out. And I'm able to resolve this like cluster of feelings, thoughts, that are like maybe at odds or just like discussing. It's like they're already discussing in there, but like when I write it out, I can see it more clearly, and then I'm like, oh, okay, like it's also easier to hold it all together because oftentimes there's like all these conflicting voices. And so then you can be like, oh, given all of this information that is now laid out on paper with this bird's eye view, what can I do with that? And usually it helps a lot with like synthesizing my thoughts and the way I feel about a situation. So yeah, I think that is it for me for today. I will see you guys later. Bye.